What's up, everyone? Welcome to Joy of the Hobby podcast, episode 30. My name is Matt. I'm joined by my good friend, Ben. Yeah, there we are.
There we go. Got it.
We did it. We're here. We're 30 episodes in. We both have been very busy, but we're very, very happy to be here and joined by, looks like we've got Matt and Curtis here so far. We've got a very hot topic on both of our brains that we want to cover, and it coincides with what's going to end here in a little bit, Ben. Kind of what we're going to be doing with our futures, because you've got a big move coming up.
Mm-hmm.
I've got some exciting things coming up, and so that really kind of changes our mindset with cards. So I'm really excited to dig into this and also get some feedback from the chat. I invited Name here to just be in the chat because the way he collects, I think, is very similar to where I'm going to start heading to. But anyways, really excited to be here, man. How have you been the last couple of weeks, and what's been bringing you some joy as a collector as of late?
Yeah, unfortunately very busy with some work stuff. There's some deadlines and things that I've had to focus on that have not allowed me to post or be involved as I'd like to be. But I think that's about to end here at the end of the month, and I'll be free to join you guys back on socials again in a fun way where I'm not stressed out about it. But I've had a couple fun things come in the mail, like in thinking about this topic. Bought a couple different things that were just for fun that I thought were like finding good value, kind of interesting, that I thought were looking cool or look cool, but I didn't have to spend a penny on them.
All right, let's see what we got here.
This one, but like again, the Star Quests, the 4 stars, so like the home runs or the golds on 99 collector's choice are out of 100, but this one happens to not be numbered from series 1, but it's still the 4-star, and I just love the foil design. I love that the 4 stars have the gold on it, so just great looking card. $20. Nothing crazy for a Griffey these days, right?
Oh, absolutely. Especially nowadays if anybody in the chat is keeping up with stuff, Griffey's cards are starting to go Michael Jordan level right now.
Yeah, I would say that's very cheap. Then I've started doing another, the other guy that's going crazy is Ohtani. His cards are like, they're hitting the same Griffey. He's the GOAT of the generation, right? So anybody that's the generational talent now has just ballooned. Right. Anybody that's the generational talent. But the thing that hasn't taken off that I've noticed is some of the image variation cards of Ohtani. So go look up any Angels image variation card for Ohtani, and they're going to run you 150-ish on the cheap end to obviously way higher for the super short prints.
Okay.
This one is the short print from one of my favorite products, right? 2023 Platinum Anniversary. This is the image variation short print. You can still get this one. I got this one for $38.
Wow.
On the image variation. They're like 1 in 192 packs.
And how many? And it's of any player in the set? There's probably
it's a subset. I think it's like 35 or 40.
Yeah, but still, I mean, like, how many cases are you opening to get the whole set?
Dude, to get the short print. And what's funny is I pulled this card when I bought boxes when the product first came out, and I sold it for 38 and bought it back for 38. So people have not realized that this card is a short print, just like the Topps cards are,
right?
The short print image variations. So just some, I think, hidden value there. And I'm toying with the idea of trying to find some more variation Ohtanis that people haven't found that should be going up in value, but for some reason aren't. It's kind of a fun little game to play.
Right. Well, that's cool, dude.
That's the last thing I wanted to bring up, since there's Luke. Perfect timing.
Yeah.
So I had family in town, and a couple nephews, very fun. They're young boys, but they are exhausting. We were at the mall for the last day before they left town, and I thought, you know what? I'm jumping into Lids. I'm buying a Series 1 hobby box. I told you, Matt, 0 numbered cards in the whole hobby box. Got to the silver pack, which is no longer silver. It's just a white pack now.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last card in the box that saved me was
so sick,
the Barry Larkin. And I do like that it's numbered out of 75 for the 75th anniversary, the throwback design. Barry has a great signature. So
he does.
I was like, oh, save the box. Cool card. Luke, if you want it, we'll figure something out, because I already have a Barry Larkin on-card auto for my PC. So I just happen to have that now. So if you want it, we'll make a trade.
That's awesome, dude. I love it. I love it. The first thing I thought of too, it's amazing. We really prioritize the community within this podcast on our socials. And as soon as I saw that, just like you did when you pulled it, isn't that amazing that when you make a connection with another collector as a friend, you're like, ooh, Luke, like, like unless it's your PC guide, which of course then you're like, yay me. But when you pull another PC player of somebody within the podcast, it's like we got to try to make something work. So I always enjoy the community aspect with that. It's so cool, man.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well,
what about you? What's bringing you joy?
Yeah, it's been really, really interesting lately too, because like for you, your priorities are shifting a little bit because you're about to move here after you do some other fun things. But like you're always kind of evaluating, like you want to put your family first and your life first beyond the cards. You don't want to be spending beyond your means, and so. For me, I'm kind of in this interesting place. I'm starting to jettison all my Star Wars cards, which I've been fortunate enough to sell some so far. Thinking about, like really thinking hard about purchases as opposed to, in the past, it was like, oh, this is great. I want to own this and I'll find a way to make it happen. It's more like, does this make sense? And so I've really been very specific this year, more than I ever have as a collector with what I've been buying. And so I've been very, very careful. And we're going to dive into this, like at what price point do you have to like really think about the implications of what you're buying? Like, can I sell something to pay for this? Is this going to be okay? Budget wise, like, so I've really been having a lot of fun grabbing like those $2 or $3 goalie cards, some inserts and stuff. Like we know how cool these are, in the cages from Pacific.
So
like
sick.
These would be so expensive to make nowadays. Like people don't even realize like how cool these are, because they're like, every little hole in the cage behind him is cut out. So stuff like that for really good prices. And then, me, I'm a goalie guy. I'll talk more about that. But even though they're modern, like finding a superscript out of 25 of those, like I'm down to one superscript of his left. So that's
nice.
That's really fun. And they're not going to break the bank. But the one cool thing that I've enjoyed, and I got to give Topps a shout out here, the Golden Mirror variations. This is Brian Wu, of course, the only guy that I collect that's modern. This is at the All-Star game, it's really cool. If anybody wants to like get a little emotional in a good way, go watch Brian Wu call his family and tell him that he's made the All-Star game. Like it is really like a very genuine moment, because his parents are freaking out. They're just so happy for him. He's trying not to cry. So I thought it was just beyond just a cool variation, a short print card. That it had a great story behind it. And then
captures a great moment.
Look at the back of these. I know I don't have a light on here. Let me turn a light on so everybody can see these.
That was the enhancement they made this year. Yeah, they added the foil to
like
the
a
back.
refractor shine on the back. They did rainbow foil. They costed for rainbow foil on the back of these, which
that's new this year.
So yeah, very happy to have a card that is very desirable and has a really cool story behind it. So I think for me, that's what's been bringing me a lot of joy, and really honestly, just thinking about what the future is going to be like as a collector. Like I said, your priorities change as you start having new, what's the like milestones, I guess, in life. For you, you've already gotten married, you kind of are established in your job and stuff like that. And I think it's always important to put those things first, right? So I've just been kind of having fun thinking about, well, what is my future as a collector going to look like? I can't just be buying big card after big card. And that really launches us right into our discussion, because there's a big card that's ending soon. And we were planning on going live an hour later than usual to try to make a play at this card, because it's been at the top of the list for a long time. But as I've been seeing the price go up, and you've been seeing it too, it's really got me thinking a lot about, and I'm going to let you kind of, broach this topic here, Ben, but really thinking about like, well, what category of card does this fall into? And like, is it even a feasible, reasonable thing? Is it, good to even think about owning something like this? And honestly, at this point, I don't think it is. And that's what the market is doing. It's great that the market is blowing up. I mean, it's gone to heights that we never thought, but it's really started to affect my thinking of how I want to collect, right? And so I'm going to throw it to you. Like when we had this discussion a few days ago on the phone, you really talked about like different buckets, you know what I mean? And like, what bucket are you going to be in depending on what stage of life you're in? If you are an investor and you're working at a company, you've got millions and millions of dollars of extra income. Well, a card like this is not going to be much. It just turns into something fun. But for you and me, this becomes a very serious thing that you have to look at from a lot of different angles. So anyway, I'm going to let you go for it.
Yeah, and so kind of the way I'll introduce the topic is Matt and I were sort of talking about how the change in the market this time, even versus COVID, right? Because COVID was like this big pop and then kind of went down, and this time we've kind of seen a gradual rise, and now again, sort of another hockey stick in terms of some cards and their
Mhm.
value again. But it seems more sustainable this time. So we started thinking, okay, for both of us, we're still in this for the love of the game and the joy of the cards and having fun collecting, but
Mhm.
is the actual value in the market starting to, in the back of our minds, like determine or have some influence over the way we collect or we consider buying a card or not, right?
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
I see Doofix in here, and I know he's
Yeah.
got some incredible cards. And if you're a long time collector, this market's been incredible for you, right? You've made
Yeah.
some incredible gains, and that gives you some leverage to go look for some other big things that you might really have wanted for a long time, and now maybe you have the chance to go for them, and that's
Right.
like super cool. But I think for a lot of other collectors, maybe that haven't been in it for as long and didn't have those grail pieces early on and
Yeah.
get to like sort of ride the wave. The market now with some of the prices does have an influence, whether we want to admit it or not. And I'm waiting to hear from Luke too. If he's like, nope, I still buy, I want the card, I get the card, it doesn't matter.
Right.
There is that like true collector aspect that I think we still all want to entertain. We're just getting the card because love the game, we want it, it looks
Yep.
cool. But in some way, the price does have to start entering your mind, right? Because if you're,
Mhm.
let's even pretend you're spending $100 a month on cards, right? And you do that for 3 years, that's $3,600.
Yep.
That's like not nothing, right?
Interesting amount you said.
Right, that's what came to mind.
That
Funny
was
enough,
good.
that's what triggered it.
Good.
But it's something that's you start having to really consider, right? Like, if you're
Yeah.
spending that consistently, that's I think the term I used with you is like the opportunity cost, right? If I'm
Mhm.
spending that much on cards, that's money that I'm not spending on something else, right? So
Yep.
then in a way, it does become a bit of an investment in
Yeah.
some bucket or another, right? I really I'm just sort of explaining here to kind of open up the chat and have you guys kind of think about
Yeah.
this. The way I've sort of broken it out for myself is, and what Matt and I were talking about is sort of a 3 bucket strategy, which is sort of how my collection has ended up. I have the like I'm just collecting. This is fun. It looks cool. I'm going to buy it. And I don't really have a concern if this card goes to 0 or not. It's going to
Right.
be fun to enjoy as something
Right.
to look at and just a piece of my collection, right?
Mhm.
Then there's sort of this middle tier where it becomes I don't want this to go to 0 because that would be a loss of something that I could have used to do something else. Again, that's where the opportunity cost starts to come into play. I'm spending $100 on this card,
Yeah.
$300 on a card, right?
Mhm.
I would like it to stay that, or I would like to see it go up, right? So that I'm not losing the opportunity cost of owning that card, right? Unless we consider it just renting the card for a while, which is always fine as well, right? I want to have
Right.
it in person. It's mine for a bit. Take pictures, share it with some friends. I own it. Maybe you take a small L on it, but you get to own it for a while, right? There's
Right.
that like sort of weird middle ground, which I think is a tough one. I'd love to hear the chat kind of figure out with us how to define that middle ground because I don't even
Right.
know it for myself. And then I've sort of decided, or we kind of talked about, like the last bucket is sort of the almost at this stage of the game. If you're looking for that card that we all know and we all want, it becomes an asset
Mhm.
at this point. You're spending $1,000 on a card. That's no joke. Like,
No.
that is a
Not at all.
serious chunk of change to spend on a piece of cardboard
Yeah.
with a sports dude on it,
Yeah.
or a non-sports person on it. But like
Right.
that is a serious amount of money to spend on something that you
Yes.
could put in stock or whatever. You start considering like, am I buying Google stock or am I going to buy this, hockey card? You really start considering that. And like, I wouldn't have thought that before, but given the amount of money we're spending, it started to enter my mind. Tell me if I'm wrong. I don't know if you've thought about it that way, but like,
I think you're on it, man. I do want to ask the chat. I want to start with this question because it's right on to what you're talking about, Ben. At what point, what dollar amount do you stop going, I'm going to buy this. This is cool. And
do you
really
smash the
start
bin?
evaluating, like, I wonder, like, how much do I sell something for this? What's this going to affect? Like, am I going to eat ramen for a month to make this happen? That's always been kind of the joke I've had with some friends. Like, oh, so you're eating ramen until the next paydays to pay for this card. Like, what are you making a sacrifice for the card? So I guess my question for the chat is, at what dollar amount do you take a lot of time to decide if you're going to buy it or not? Because to Ben's point, when and you'll agree to this, Ben, when I first got into collecting, and I was just explaining this to Alyssa the other day, I was like, when I was collecting A-Rod, $70 was my limit. And I even bought an Essentia Credentials from 99 for $70. I could afford any insert I wanted. And I thought that was a lot of money. Because
like $70 for a card is crazy.
Yeah, but at that point, I remember I said this to her, and I've said this to Alan and Greg before. I'll say it to you now. Back then, if everything then became worth $0, they're still rare. They're still awesome. They're from the 90s. They're from A-Rod, Mariners. Everything was great. I did not care. And that's your first bucket.
Yeah.
So everything I bought fit into if it becomes worth nothing, not a big deal. I still love it. That bucket, like the types of cards that can go into that bucket, have drastically changed now for me. And so when I brought up this card, I'm like, what do you think? Like, if this potentially doubles in value in 10 years, is it worth it? And the answer was no. And I agree, because there's so much of a risk when you start spending, whether it's 100, 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, like likely the cards are going to go up, but Tom Brady's cards for some reason could just plummet. He could have a scandal or just something terrible, and now his cards are worth nothing. Like Jordan, Griffey, a few others are safe, but Ohtani could have a Trout thing happen to him where, like, look at Trout's cards now compared to what they were at during COVID. Like, it is such a big risk, and I think it's really changed. Like when I was collecting Fleury, I knew that all of his cup cards were going to be worth more, and I nailed it because I am definitely double or more over what I paid for every single cup card of his.
Yeah.
And I just knew it. Going to be in the Hall of Fame. Cup cards are coveted. They're the
you knew it, but at the same time, you weren't even totally like thinking that way. Like, I'm buying these knowing they're going to double.
I kind of was, but I kind of was like, I was like you with Soros. I was so enamored with how unique and amazing these cards were. I wanted more, and I wanted more because baseball didn't have that. So yeah, it's a very interesting place to be in. And, and I'm, my head's going crazy with all these things. Like I want to be in the hobby and active, obviously working Upper Deck. I get to do that, but I want to still collect cards. It's like, well, now the way the market's headed and my Grail card is about to go for an insane amount. I need to really kind of reevaluate. And I think a lot of us do as collectors, like, okay, you have your Grails, great. But then going forward, does that whole, like for you, I'm going to throw this to you, Ben. I know what your Grail is. You're going to have a chance at one very soon, hopefully.
Yep.
But like 2 years ago, you would have been like, yep, I'm just going to buy it, whatever the price is. I don't think it's going to go that way now, honestly.
No, it's going to be way more of a consideration. Yeah, and I would say even, funny enough, one close to my Grail, you would say 4 years ago, well, I would just buy that right away. And now it's, more than 10x in the price. So you go, is this sustainable? Should I even be thinking about buying that card, at this price, that one, which I'm not going to. I'm looking at my Grail, not this other one on the side. But there's those things that come into play that, yeah, I think we're always in the back of my mind for some cards over like $100, but now it's very much in the front of my mind because some of those cards that are now $100 were a smash the bin, right? You don't even really think about it because they were $15, and now you're sort of entering like am I paying $100 for this card, or am I just going to say I'm not going to own that card? I'm going to put that money aside for those few bigger cards that I'm really looking for down the road. There's a lot of different things that go into play here, and I know we got a lot of comments.
Yeah, I'm going to show some comments here on that note.
Look on something here.
Look what I'm going to throw the comment duties all to you, and I'll just set you up for them. So here's the first thing that Luke said on that point you just made.
Oh, yeah, right on time. I'm still buying Grails, but backed off buying the mid and lower tier cards that have gone up beyond what they would be worth to me, which I think is totally fair, right? There's a cool $5 insert that looked cool, and now it's $25, and you go, am I spending $25 on this card now? Like, it really makes you have to reconsider some of what was like kind of fun cards to have, right?
Yeah, for sure. And a lot of people are feeling that way. I mean, I have 3 Fleury Panini Gold Prism cards over here that I'm going to move soon. And my buddy Chris wants 2 of them. And I'm like, look, man, the market's here. Obviously you have a little play, but like, you can't just give these cards away. And to that point, I really want to show this comment right here from Dufex.
Dufix said the market is crazy. I was at Cards recently. I kept offering dealers 95% of comps for stacks of $100 bills, and no one is biting at 95%.
Yeah.
So people really believe the market's going to keep going up. That's tough. But that is where we are right now. We're in this hockey stick upswing right now.
For sure. And so I think it's just really, I mean, again, Jason, if anybody knows the president of Upper Deck, Jason, we have quarterly meetings and he comes down and talks about the market every time. And when he says stuff and he's confident about it, you can tell. Not that he's not confident most of the time, but there's times where he's like, I'm not sure, this and this. We're going to wait and see. He's like, the market is exploding. And we're all feeling the effects of that. So that's why I think it's so important to kind of talk about this, because you and I want to love being in this hobby. We want to love collecting. I've told my friends, my family that, like, I want to still love collecting this. So that's what we're going to, toward the end of this discussion, talk about how we're going to be able to do that still, because there's a lot of ways to have fun in here still without spending a lot of money. So, so on the question of like, where's the threshold? Start with what our buddy Sticks and Seams, Michael, said.
Oh, yeah. So Michael said, honestly, for me, $100 or higher, that's where you start thinking about the card purchase and the opportunity cost. I remember stretching for a card at $50. Now, if I don't have a $300 bill, don't bother showing up.
Yeah.
That really has been the trend, especially for some cards that even we thought were sleeper cards. The market, which, again, if we're looking at the good side of things, right? There's so many more people looking at cards in the card space, in the hobby, that more eyes have been drawn to these cards that were sleepers for us in the past that are now no longer sleepers.
Very little is, but there is quite a bit out there, but it's tough because, like, I know what I want to talk about and I know what you want to talk about, but now somebody's going to watch this and go buy that Ohtani and it's going to be a $50 card. And like,
that's the thing too. Yeah. Anytime I show something, I go, ooh, this is a really cool thing, like hidden value in this. I go, well,
it was,
and it's gone.
Yeah, exactly. But we're going to talk about that. It's going to be fun to go into that a little bit. Here's what Luke had to say. And I mean, interesting you bring that card up, Luke.
Yep. Turned down the 98 PMG at 12K. That was the first grail I passed on. But realistically, once it gets near a grand, I take some time to think about it. Yeah, I think everyone has that sort of threshold. Even if you're buying, if you're buying fewer cards, you have more kind of put aside in your war chest to pull the trigger when a card comes up. But even if you have that money put aside, a grand, you go, man, that's again, I'm going to keep saying it, the opportunity cost. That's $1,000 you could spend on something. That's half of a vacation,
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's depending on where you're flying, that's over, half of a plane ticket. It's expensive, man. And then again, another threshold answer from Dufex. I mean, this is great to hear from. I just want to preface, we know he collects Griffey and a lot of cool 90s inserts.
Griffey, 90s, some vintage, like fantastic sort of great diversified collection.
Definitely go check out Dufex if you guys haven't looked at his Instagram page yet. But to that point, he's collecting guys that are really expensive, and even then, look what he had to say here.
If you're spending more than your monthly car payment on a card, that's a red line threshold to take a moment compared to the utility of your car bringing you in your daily life. Excellent point, right? Like, you have to look at the real costs of your life and you enjoying your life, right, versus enjoying your cards. And again, the silver lining there, I guess the thing to keep in mind is the anxiety of extending yourself to own that card will not be a fun memory, right? So actually, I pulled out a bunch of cards to go through like buckets real quickly as we kind of dive into like that strategy for me that I have in my head. And there were some that I put away or brought out as like bad examples because I have like either anxiety or I don't like the memory associated with the card, or I think I made a bad choice with the card, and therefore I have like something negative tied to the decision I made to get it at that time or at that price, or for just the strategy was wrong, and it takes away from the joy of the card because the amount you spent and the strategy and the way you acquired it. Like, it's very important to remember the way you acquire the card is a memory that you'll think of every time you pull out the card. Or if you don't have a memory to it, it needs to be in the first bucket of it's just for fun.
Yep. And I've sold cards in the past because the memory was negative. And whether it was a $20 card or $100 or more, if it's got a negative memory attached, and I don't need to dive into this, people will probably know, but part of the reason the whole A-Rod collection was sold was because of that. And looking at it in a display case, it represented negativity, right? So I think that's, again, you're spending a lot in the market. I'm really curious to see where this ends. But like, just that amount of money, like if you're stressing about it, and I want to show a couple more things here, then it's always going to have that like that negative connotation attached to it forever, unless it goes up like 3 times the value in a couple of years. Then you're like, oh, cool.
Right.
So
when things go well, you're like, that was awesome. But you don't really think about the other times where you maybe weren't paying attention or taking a beat and thinking about what you're spending on.
Absolutely. I do want to show what Matt had to say here about modern stuff.
Oh, yeah. I decided back in December to get rid of my modern, kept only World Series and playoff cards. Always had a big buyer for my collection, and he bought all of them 90s only now and new side PC. So like going 90s only, getting rid of all the modern stuff.
Yeah.
I guess if you're like a Bijou Bagwell kind of guy, then like you stick with playing years, which I think is common for a lot of us guys that enjoy like retired players.
What's cool to see from Matt on that too is like, we've talked a lot about narrowing your focus because I mean, it can be said, even with the way the market's going now, you have to do that, because if you're not, you're going to feel like you're missing out on so many cards. So you've got to set parameters, no matter what your budget is. You got to set parameters of what you can get, because you can't just willy-nilly anymore. Back in, in 2018.
When I first came back in 2017, like late 2017, 2018, it was willy-nilly. Didn't matter.
Pick up any answer you want, like $30. Okay, great. Now that card is $100 or $200. Like, I remember legacy collection cards were $75 to $100 for A-Rod all day. Now they're double that. Easy. So it's like, they're not, you can't just go out and just grab this stuff anymore, which is it. Curtis, now this is interesting. This is from a hockey collector too. So it's interesting that his point of view is different. So this is what he had.
Yeah, Curtis said, my heart skips around the $300 range, but like you guys, it used to be a lot less. I assume the number will go up with time, which is something we have to think about as well, right?
Yep.
You go, well, and I could say this for a number of cards that I've looked at in the past and gone, I'm not buying that. And I've circled back around and it's 45% more the next time it shows up for auction. And you go, well, I should have bought it last time. Hindsight 2020. Well, that was actually a good deal. But again, you can't, I've had to tell myself this, that you can't be upset with the decision you made in the moment, because at the moment it wasn't the right time to buy. If it gave me anxiety to think about it at the time, then it wasn't the right time to buy it. Oh man, it would be worth double now. Well, it would have given, the memory associated with buying it would have been not fun to relive, right? Or if it gave me some anxiety about bills or whatever for the next month, that's not fun.
No, that's such a good point, Ben. I mean, even when I had a chance at this card for a few $100, I'd never spent over 70 on any card. And I didn't want the negativity or the anxiety of that purchase to be associated with that card. And honestly, I sold my whole collection, so I probably would end up selling it for way less than it's going for now. So now you're like, whoa, I should have held on to it. So it's like, if the time was right, you would have bought it. Just like Luke said, if he had all that money saved up for that Larkin, he would have bought it. And you would have been super happy about it, because we know Luke is like, if it's on the top 3, you buy it when you see it. It's the buy it when you see it list. And nowadays that approach is very different. My buy it when I see it list is, a superscript of a goalie that I like. Sweet, it's $10. Still out of 25. It's still rare. Still exciting. So I think you kind of have to change that a little bit. This is another comment from Matt. This is kind of interesting. For him.
Luckily, as a Bagwell collector, luckily a Bagwell collector is selling out and not raising prices. Picked up 7 of top 20 so far this year, and sometimes that happens. You just get, and that's the nice thing about being a player collector and being involved in the hobby. You find someone that's also a super collector, a player collector, and they know it's going to a good home, right?
Yeah.
And eventually, with some of the prices of some of these higher level cards we're looking at, it might just be these transactions have to be from a good home to a good home for some of these. And you hope they just don't enter the asset market for a lot of these, because then they go away from our collector group, community. You don't want to see too many of these cards that we all really enjoy leave the community.
For sure. And that's what's so tough too, is the market too. I mean, these 3 flurries, I mean, they are going to command a high dollar amount. And it's so tough when the market is doing that, because as much as you want to see it like stay within the flurry community, which they might still be able to, I'm very curious, to kind of, see, there we go. Kind of see how that all shapes out.
Yeah.
With just the market continues to like, you got to sell it. Just like Dufex was talking about, you got to sell at comps. You can't, if you start taking like way less than comps to try to keep stuff in the community, it's like that used to not be a thing. It's like, oh, I'll sell this for $50 instead of 75 because it's going to a good home. Not a big
Yeah.
deal. But when we're talking like 2,500 to 10 to like, I don't know, 1,500 or 1,000, like that's a huge difference, man. Like that's not something you just scoff at. So it is really interesting to think about how that's changed. I do got to show this comment from Luke.
Yeah, Luke, I drive a 15-year-old pickup truck with no payment, so I can have the Larkins. Don't ask about my wife's car payment, though.
Oh, geez.
Hey, Luke, I cut that out. We drive one car together. My wife and I share a car. That's how you solve that problem.
That's definitely doable in your situation. Definitely not here for me, but the goal is to have one car with payments and one without, right? That's always a nice thing to tackle. This is a great piece of advice from Ryan, don't you think?
Oh yeah, I advise everyone to write down what you paid when you bought it and where for a card of a significant dollar amount.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. As a way to solidify that memory, like exactly outside of the number part, but like a picture of when you got it and writing down where you got it is a good way to just a reminder for yourself. But yeah, obviously anybody, if you're not already logging your cards and keeping a spreadsheet, it's a good way to just keep track of your spending. And I like to keep track of that and then cut it by month, because some months it always happens, right? You have a budget for the month, or maybe you're not even thinking, but you have a soft idea of how much. Yeah, you have a soft idea of like, this is kind of what I'm looking to spend for this month, or I've sold this much, so I kind of have this little chest of this is the amount that I can spend, and then 4 cards get listed, and you go, okay, it's not exactly as cut and dry as I'd like it to be, but keeping track of that is smart.
You make up for it because you get into a sell mode after those big buying sprees happen. You do a good job of balancing it out, right? You get, okay, I went $300 over my budget this month, but the next month I sold, $500 worth of cards. So it's basically even the whole thing out. Now I have this one card instead of these 4 cards. I think
that's generally how I work. Yes. And kind of these like waves where I kind of balance myself out over the long term.
I just got to say, we don't have to read this whole thing, but like, you got to think about these things, like not just the speeding tickets. That is what it is. Curtis, you must drive like a really like fast, speedy car. You know what I mean? Like either he's got a McLaren or he's got something, because that'll happen. But the thing is
the opportunity cost of driving fast.
Yeah, exactly. But you really, nowadays, again, the market is really making us think about almost every purchase, whether it's a $5 card or a $4,800 card. You have to give it different levels of thinking. And so now that we've kind of, got into this topic a little bit, I've really been thinking hard about, what is my collecting, habit? What are my collecting habits going to look like now? Because when I got into it, just like you did, oh, this is a cool insert. I'll get this for $80. Like I remember getting a Mystique established for $77. I think I put 77, and I got it, and it just back in 2019, like I could add almost any card of his that I wanted outside of a Essential Credentials or a PMG, any card I wanted. And, you look at where things are at now, willy-nilly spending on cards is just not going to happen if you're into the players that we like to collect. Alex Rodriguez, Marc-Andre Fleury, Ichiro, Barry Bonds. I mean, it's just not Mookie Betts even. It's just not going to happen.
To be fair, to tie it to the, the point of the show, the willy-nilly spending won't bring you joy anymore because of the state of the market. And I think that's more of the conversation we're trying to have, is like willy-nilly could be fun and it would bring you joy before, but given the price of cards and the things we have to consider now, to make sure the cards you're buying are fun to look at and you appreciate the fact that you didn't lose your shirt on it, requires like kind of being aware of this and being a little more diligent. If you weren't already, I'm looking at Dufex's comment. If you aren't doing that, do people not create obsessively detailed spreadsheets about their cards and their collections? Some do. I think there's a balance between doing that and taking some of the fun out of it. Unless you're a numbers person, then it is fun to do that, right? So it's all where you find the joy in your collection. Like for some people, it really is the spreadsheets and the logging your cards is the fun part.
Which we'll definitely dive into the whole Smarter Collector platform, because I think that platform is a good mix of displaying your cards and also keeping track of your spending, because he's got all the stuff built into that, with all the graphs and everything, like this is what you spent, this is what it's worth now, this is what you sold it for, all that stuff. But we'll get into that in the future. But I really want to dive in for the next 20 minutes plus here. Like, you talked about the 3 buckets that you kind of came up with for collecting, right? You've got your fun, like buy it when you see it, whatever that amount is. It could be $5 for you and me, it could be $20 for somebody, it could be a few $100s for someone, doesn't matter. But that bucket would represent probably 80 to 90% of your pie chart. And then like 15% of it would be, this is $100, or this is a card that I have to just make sure, like if I buy this card, I'm not buying anything else for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then you've got the last bucket, which is like, this is a massive investment. This has to be a card that's going to increase in value, at the very least stay where it's at. And there's a lot of unknowns with that. Like, Alan, if he was here watching right now, would talk all about the market. And we talked about it on the Essential Credentials. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's going to get bigger. Yeah. Nobody had any idea it was going to do this, not even close. And so
even Alan, who was preaching that, didn't know it would go to this level.
No, but and I know we're probably going to hop on. I know Greg and Alan want to do an episode in the future, but he made a really good point. I just want to mention this before we talk about like this first bucket that you mentioned. He sent the price of what a PSA 10 Bonds Essential Credentials Pink went for. I sent it to you, and you saw that price. And I remember us telling him not to buy it at $1,500 or whatever it was at the National in 2019. And it was expensive then.
Yeah.
And that guy like hid the card. And thankfully he was able to buy the exact same copy for, and I know it's public knowledge, that's why I'm mentioning this, around double that.
Yeah.
So now it's worth you saw what that sold for.
Yeah. Now it's, we'll say, so much more than that.
I mean, insanely more. How can that be fun still? And he honestly said, he goes, this has gone from being fun to like thinking about like beyond fun, stock market type stuff. Like, okay, trade this, like very
like sending kids to college kind of money.
And these are just sitting in his house or wherever he's got them. Like, that is not the area I want to be in with collecting. I have one card that's going to be like that, and it will never change. I think I just need one card. I'm good. And the card, it's going to be a college payment card one day, but I don't like that idea. How do you feel about cards? Like, you've got a couple pretty big cards in your collection.
Yeah.
How has your mentality changed now? Because like 3-4 years ago, we'd have been like, oh, that's a $1,000 card. What an amazing memory, history of the game, history of collecting.
Right.
These have gone to places where you're like, don't tell people these are in my house.
Right. What I mean? And that's another interesting part of it. And I appreciate people who are willing to show off their collections, and I'm sure they keep them, safe, these bigger cards. But I get a little bit like, I don't really want to like post like that I have some of these cards. Like, it makes it a little bit uncomfortable, and that's the downside of getting some of the the big cards that you're really excited to own. Is like there's a weirdness with it, considering where the market is now, which is why I revert to. And you mentioned like maybe 80% of your pie chart is the fun, not thinking about it. I think the pie chart can be spread differently for different people. It depends on how you want to collect. I would say for me, the fun part is like 50, then 30% is the weird in between, the middle ground that I would call it. And then the last 20% is actually sort of like this is going to be a long-term hold thing that I think will appreciate, and I'm going to spend the money on it because I really want to have a copy. So my pie chart's a little different from yours, but I think it's important to sort of establish that in your head in some way. Like, what am I just enjoying and I don't care and it's just for fun? What's I have to pause, but I'm not going to get totally burned, but I need to think about it a little bit. And what's I really need to think about this. This is a significant choice I'm making here by owning this card.
Right, especially because like the implications of buying all of our grails now is so much more like what's the word, like maybe in depth, but like there's so many more implications to going like not we can say it now because the auction's over. If anybody was keeping up with it, the A-Rod 98 PMG ended. And for Luke, he's probably like, man, I would have bought it at that price. Well, not everybody is in a position to do that. Ben, thankfully, was prepared to help me get it. But that is such a significant amount of money. And now I'm thinking I've got a trip coming up in the summer, like a trip out of the country. I've got a trip in 2 weeks coming up. Like I'm thinking about all the things that are going to take money. And no matter what collecting budget you're on, because of the market, we're having to think more and more about that. So I really want to talk about, for the last 20 minutes here, about the fun bucket of collecting. And that used to be A-Rod inserts. Well, now that really can't be the case unless it's like Pacific stuff, because then it's kind of cheap still. So I know that you've had some time to think about this too, since we talked on Thursday. And I got to tell you, I never want to lose the joy, hence the podcast, just like you. I want collecting to be fun.
Yep.
I know a lot of people in the chat, that's their main reason for collecting. But I think everybody in chat would probably be lying, and so would we, if we said the only reason we collect is for fun. Now there's always a little part of this value could go up.
It's back there.
You know, James, who's in the chat, you know, mentioned a really good thing. Like, I wish people didn't know my address in some ways, but like, even he has to think about this now. Everybody does. Like, James is a great example of somebody who collects for the love of the game. He loves the Mariners. He loves collecting the cards, but now those cards are not just a fun thing because of the value. So I think for me, I really thought, what can I collect that has these elements? So it's fun, most importantly. Not a significant hurt to budgeting, like, so smaller amounts, obviously, on each card. But also, how can I still find some like rare chase? You talk about hidden value. In hockey, there's still a lot of that out there.
And I think that's part of the fun. If you're going to combine the financial part-ish, because it's in the back of your head anyway, with the collector aspect, the finding a good deal in that middle ground area where it's like, I want to own this card, but I can also find a good deal and people don't really know about it. It becomes a bit, there's a way to like gamify it a little bit that still brings joy in getting the cards. It's not just for the sake of the card, right? Like, you're allowed to kind of blend this in a little bit and still keep it fun, right?
I love it. And I love that phrase you just said, gamify. Collecting has to be fun, and the chase has always been why we do it. So I think when we set these goals at the beginning of the year, you know, I didn't anticipate certain things happening to start this year, and you know what I'm talking about when I say that. But it's, you know, you are having to, you know, just like reevaluate when different life things come up, but the collecting has to stay fun no matter what, because if it stops being fun, I don't want to do it anymore. And obviously for me, I work in a job where it has to be fun because it influences what I'm going to build in my sets, whether it's, you know, Labyrinth, whether it's NHL, whether it's Space Jam, like, doesn't matter. It needs to be fun. And so,
can I give you props? Clearly you had fun doing the Space Jam set, and you can see it online with the people going nuts over the parallels, the way they're designed, the MJ autos, like, people, it popped. And I think that's due to the fact that you spent time and really tried to be true to the design of the set. So, and that'll come from you being someone that enjoys cards.
But I think
creating a fun set.
That's a big deal. I'm thinking about you and I'm thinking about everybody in the chat. I'm thinking about the people who collect because they love it, not the obviously I got to think of the investing type. Everybody does, but when I build sets,
there's a part of my pie that is that type,
right? The same thing. It's basically the same thing. But for me, I think I've decided, and I've made like a critical decision of like, how do I want to progress forward? What am I going to collect? How do I want to display it or talk about it? How can I make sure it's fun, but I'm not jeopardizing any future plans that are going to happen? You know, I think when you talk to Sarah about, I bought this card, it's great to say, okay, well, this card was in this bucket. This was a very expensive card, but this is why it was worth it. This is what it's going to be worth. When all these people, the pitchers, you know, when they pass away, do you have the pitcher card there in front of you? Did you bring that out?
Oh, I actually don't have that one, but I have like other examples. So
go for it.
Can actually, I want to end on the fun, which would be the last bucket. So I'll go through like the investment bucket.
Go for it.
Which would be like this is the top end. You really consider, you hope this works out. But like, I have a couple from this. Like, actually, this is one Dufex would appreciate. Like, this is one I bought like back in 2019. This is the last one I needed for the N28 complete set. So I have all 10 of these, and I got this one in a 5 through like a very good deal. Like, super clean. King Kelly's like my favorite player from the 1880s. So sick, this is like my guy. And of course, it's worth way more now than what I paid for, like a lot more now than what I paid for it. But that was one I had to take a gamble on, because I'm like, I like this. This is the first set from baseball cards. Do people really care? For the same price as this card, though, and here's part of the opportunity cost. For the same price that I paid for this card, I could have probably gotten a PSA 1 33 Gaudy Ruth at the same
Wow.
time. Well, that's worth a lot more than this card now. So you could say I made the wrong choice, but for me, this was the card I wanted. So,
Right.
you know, there's the way to look at where you go, well, that wasn't the right call with the money you had at the time to buy that one. But for me, that was the set I wanted, right?
But here's the thing, what you wanted. I think
Yeah.
I still, on Jeremy Lee's show, and for anybody that doesn't know Sports Card Live, it's the only podcast that I watch besides our own, and I don't really watch back our own, but like Jeremy and his guests still, most of them say the same thing: collect what you love. Doesn't matter if it's $10,000 or $1. You got to love what you're collecting. And it's harder now because you have to think about the market. Your phrase about the Ruth is worth more. When you bought that, not even thinking about that.
Wasn't thinking twice about it. It was like,
No, and
this
so
completes my N28 set. I'm so
Yeah.
stoked. This is such a clean copy. Yeah,
I mean, amen, right?
exactly. Yeah.
You can never go wrong buying what you like. Amen. Doesn't matter what the heck it is. And that's why I think I really want to reemphasize that on this show is like, it's easy for you and I to be like, should I be collecting Darcy Kemper? Because I even told Alyssa this the other day. I was like, I got to be honest with you. His collection makes me really happy, but it's not going to be worth jack ever. So these have to be fun cards, you know, like
I have to enjoy this and appreciate them and just enjoy the fact that I get to share and have a community that enjoys them with me. Like
exactly.
Yep.
But again, we're not in that bucket yet. So for me, I think everybody knows I have one card. I traded a ton to get it, but I had to make sure I got it. And this is my thinking about what it's worth later. For the amount that I traded for this, could I have traded for a Crosby Shield? Maybe not, but I could have traded more Fleuries to get a Crosby Shield, which might be worth more in the long run. I could care less. Like, if I am left with one card of his someday in my life, this is the one that gets passed to the kids, or Mark Andre's kids can buy it from me. Like, that is the card. And I think we should all have one of those in our collection if you can. But again, thinking about what it took to get it, just like your card that you bought, I mean, I had to think, I'm giving up a lot here. Like, which one makes more sense? I think we both made the right choice. And the way that card makes you feel and the way that this card makes me feel, it will not be replicated anytime soon.
And to be fair, I was unsure about that one, but it's played well. I'll show really quickly. Like, I have, just to be fair and balanced on like that end, I've had some where I'm taking a risk still. So like, I got this one for $550 cash. It was the first year they did the T206 reprints. That's the game used Wagner bat. So I got this one for, I mean, I'll just be honest with the price. I paid $550 cash for it. I don't know if people care or not, but for me, when I was a kid, this was like an influential set. It was the first time they made like the T206 style. And it was short printed. I thought it was huge. I'll show one more that was a good and one more that was potentially a bad. So like, this was probably my best good. So I got this one back in,
look at those autos still, man.
2019. They're really clean. This was my grill card when I was a kid. So I spent a chunk of change on this. Obviously, as you all know, if I bought it in 2019, it's worth a lot more now. But that was one of those, I was going to get it no matter what and go, I'll deal with it later. And then here's one where I fell in love with a player. And
Machado, dude.
I love his early auto. You know, he never signs like this anymore. So that was his first, and a 9.5/10. I thought, I need to have this card. He's a surefire, you know, Hall of Famer. He's going to be a first ballot kind of guy. But this card's probably not going to move from what I paid for it. Like, I thought it was cool and I love it. But am I really that, like, does it really fit in with my collection, or was it just a moment of, I really want one of these. Here's a really great copy, you know, where you pause for a minute and then you go, I'm just going to do it. A little bit of, I think the impulse got to me on that one. That's one of those where I'm like, am I in love with that card? And to be fair with the post high roller, I pulled cards from like the high end of, that's what I do with like that small slice of the pie when it comes to my collection. Not everything is like that, right?
Well, and I think we have some commonality here too, Ben, because I want to show this card, which is probably not going to get many people excited. But a couple things I want to mention about this. That jersey is my favorite jersey. And this was like in my top 3 wanted Fleury cards for years. And especially because, for those that don't know, the priority signings, those are only at the Expo. We have exclusive packs that you get if you buy our products at the Expo from certified dealers. And you can't pull autos out of there. Now the autos are, you know, much more frequent, but there's way more of them too. So to get a hand numbered auto was huge, and to get a hand numbered auto on with him wearing that jersey, which I believe is the only time he's worn that mask, which is my favorite mask, with that jersey on with an autograph. So I definitely overpaid for this card. I know I did. Well, maybe not now. Maybe I'm even with it. But at the time, I vastly overpaid for it on my birthday. And there was a lot of personal worth in that. So I think when you're going into that like middle bucket, almost on the verge of the first bucket, like there's got to be a lot of intrinsic value for you to go there.
Totally.
Because the Machado and this Fleury, not like the safest card to buy.
No.
But our personal feelings about the card and the player trump what would have been not a smart investment per se.
Yeah, you would say I could have parked that same amount of money that I spent on the Machado on a Mookie Betts 2014 Bowman, and that would have gone up more. I do like Mookie just as much, if not maybe more. So there is like it was in the moment. I do like the way Machado plays, like hardcore. He's a great third baseman. So like it was just one of those, like, I like it as a card, but it probably fits almost into that second bucket. Now, given the time, I'll run through second bucket like real quick, because this is kind of
Can you reiterate too, Ben? The first bucket is like investment cards.
Yeah, where you're almost like, that's a grill. I'm setting this aside. This I believe in this card both as like an asset and something I've really wanted for a long time. Agreed. Hand numbered is the best. They needed to do a lot more of it.
I can't say why online, but there's a very big reason for that, unfortunately.
Fair enough.
Hey, that makes them even cooler because they don't do them much anymore. So what would reiterate, please? The second bucket is the what bucket?
Yeah, the middle bucket, I almost call it like the take a pause bucket, where it's like you're spending more than is just fun, so you need to really think about the cards you're buying, but you're not spending so much that it's like, I really need to consider this as an asset of some sort. Like, there's a big opportunity cost to buying a single card, but it's the bucket that if you buy a bunch in it over time, you need to keep track of what you're spending in that bucket. And you should be aware of the value, and you don't want the value of these cards to go to zero.
So it's not quite an asset, but it's more of a like be sure of what you're buying before you pull the trigger on these cards.
This is where like the no more than the rest of the market, the knowledge comes into play. And I'll show a couple of examples of those, right? Like, so here's a really good example. Like, I've showed this card before, I think, but
I love it.
2001 Donruss, the fantasy team, but this is the die cut version, right? Out of 250. I kept the sticker on the back because I bought this card for $4. This is probably a $70, $80 card at this point. So
that's wild, dude.
I kept the sticker as the memory from when I found it and bought it for that cheap, because that's kind of fun. But this for me is where like the fun collecting, thinking about money a little bit in the back of your mind. Like, this is kind of that bucket, right? Like, got this for $18 a couple years ago. This card I'm sure is worth more now. And it also fits into the I'll keep this card forever. It's one of the sickest looking die cut inserts of all time.
Can I ask you a question, Ben? If you paid today's market price, can you show that Griffey one more time, the lumber company?
Yeah, this guy.
If you were to pay full market price for that card,
I don't even know what market is. I would imagine like probably $80 or something now.
But let's say, current market price, that's a middle bucket card. Would you still get it because it's so sick of a card if you really wanted it?
And that's where I think middle bucket comes in. It's like, if it really does look good and you just really believe like that's a desirable card and other people will see it too. Like, I'm not just on an island here. So it's a mix of like rarity is one trigger and just desirability on the look, right? Like, and we know there are plenty of 90s inserts that just look cool, aren't numbered. We know they're rare, but it's just the design of the card makes it desirable. And it will always have liquidity, right? Like, you start you have to use these like financial terms in the middle bucket that you wouldn't use in the last bucket, right?
So
like, those start to come into play a little bit.
Right. But I love what you said there, because there's liquidity. We're not the only ones that think these cards in the middle bucket are awesome. I have a great example here. And because you have to think about that, whether it's $5, $20, $100, $300, $1,000, you need to make sure that others like it. And here's an example from Marc-Andre Fleury. I know, again, card knowledge makes a huge difference. I know this is one of the only cards he's inscribed 2009 Stanley Cup champ on. I know that.
Huge.
It's also numbered to 15. Now, I'm going to say this was in my set, he would not be wearing a jersey from 2015 signing 2009 Stanley Cup champion. He would be in his 09 setup.
The attention to detail.
Yeah. But I know that if I ever want to trade this card, sell it someday, whatever, that is a desirable card to many people beyond just Marc-Andre Fleury collectors. So like, I thought about that knowing this was going to be, I don't know remember what this was. I think $150, and it's definitely worth more than that now. But like, that was in the middle bucket where I have a lot of
that thought entered your mind of like, I'm spending this, but I know other people will want it.
Right.
So that's encouraging me to pull the trigger on it.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the middle bucket. The middle bucket is money, and getting rid of it later enters your mind.
Yep.
That's that whole middle ground space.
And a lot of Marc-Andre Fleury's cards end up in there. Obviously, you know, there's the fun stuff. There's always going to be about, but for him, any of the patches, any of the low numbered, any of the autos, they all have to go into that middle bucket of like, okay, this is $50 or more. Like, is this going to be a $50 card in a year or two? And before, like I said, with A-Rod, I was not thinking about that. Like, if all my Marc-Andre Fleury cards are worth nothing tomorrow and he had some huge scandal, I would be devastated financially and emotionally. Like, but for my fun cards that we're now going to talk about here, if all these cards in this binder were worth nothing, I think I'd be okay, because there's so much fun to own. So I do want to show this comment from Ryan Fitzgerald, Ben, and he's talking about the mental side of things.
Oh yeah, it's a fun mental exercise to weigh which cards are worth paying current market price for, and which we'll have to pass on for now. Some cards I wish I bought before, but I can pass on now. They have 10x. Yeah, which is always the hindsight 2020. You go, and not for now, and that goes back to like the position you're in when the card was listed before, right? You go, well, I didn't pull the trigger then. There was a good reason for it, right? If I really sat down and thought about it,
right? You
have to be okay with the decision you made.
For sure. No, absolutely. And that's why I think we're talking about this right now, because we're having to think about this more now than ever. You know, if we want to continue collecting the guys that we really like, that comes at a lot of cost, not just financially. And I think that's where, you know, it's good for us to kind of, in a way, we're coming up on summer, which is obviously feels like summer all the time here, but like going into June, it's going to be really interesting when we look at our goals. I think I'm going to have some significantly different looking goals.
Well, sometimes you set a goal and then the market changes or life changes and you just go, well, that's going to determine I got to make a shift.
And that's fine.
Keep having fun.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. Well, I'm going to use my binder for these examples, but when we talk about the bucket of fun, the bucket of fun, as we've kind of called it, you referred to it as that. That's, I think, the bucket that we were in when we first got in 100% of the time. At least totally. I thought I was in that. I don't know about you, but
I was probably at least 85% in that.
Right. And I think as of late, I've really started heading in that direction 90% of the time. The A-Rods that I get from Jeremy are not going into that bucket per se. They go into this case here because they have significant value and they hopefully will have more in the future. But as far as fun, you know, cards to collect, that's where I'm going to be hanging out now for the foreseeable future. I don't know if, you know, again, I'm not trying to say like I'm very comfortable where I'm at financially and how I can live my life, but I'm not just like teaching. I'm not working at Upper Deck so I can make the kind of money to buy an A-Rod PMG whenever it shows up. That's never going to be what I do. Maybe in some other thing, I'll have the opportunity to do that. But for me, I have to look at how can I enjoy the hobby and keep it fun without having to worry too much about like, oh man, this card was like 30, 40, $50. I don't know if it's going to be worth that. I don't want to collect that way for the most part. So
then again, it's the memory tied to the card of all I thought about was I was anxious the whole time before I pulled the trigger.
Exactly. It's fun when I open up the fun binder, my goalie binder, which is where I'm going to be frequenting for a long time now. I have our ultra cards on the top. Remember doing that?
Oh yeah.
And I look at all these cards. I'm not thinking at all when I look at this page what any of them are worth. I could care less, because the memory was so good that and they were so cheap that it was like this is an awesome way to kind of like, that's why I have it at the front of the binder, because they were a lot of fun cards that I didn't even get to own when I was a kid, and they were pennies on the dollar and they were really fun and the memory was great. So that's where I really want to hang out with top tier memories and cheap fun cards. What kind of cards are you like? What do you have in your stack over there for where we're probably going to frequent most of the time? Our fun bucket cards.
For fun, I'll start with, I am going to spend more time here with this guy.
Nice. His stuff's cheap too, man. You lucky dog.
They're so cheap. And these look, I mean, I can't get over, every time I pull out this card, the gold
Did you
above
see
the
the
crease.
odds on those? Because I recently posted my Kemper. Did you see what the odds of the golds are?
They're 1 in 400, I think.
400, yeah, 1 in 400 packs, dude,
Yeah.
from a cheap product.
They're crazy looking. And then, of course, with him being in yellow, you get all these cool like gold color match that costs like nothing. But
Yep.
these cards, I can pull them out anytime, and I'm like, sick.
3
This
per
is
case,
awesome.
I think those average too.
Yeah,
It's a big checklist.
like sick. And then even you can go like this high end, right? And it's still not crazy. He's a goalie. He's done very well. You can get a card like this of
What
a
a
guy
card,
that's
dude.
been in the league that looks sick for. This card, I feel like, is so cheap it can't possibly be worth less. It's an on-card auto with a patch. You know, like
Right?
it's so cheap it can't possibly be cheaper. So I don't even concern myself with the price of his stuff. So it's like so much fun to just research the products, find fun deals for.
Yep.
I actually, because of our conversation and thinking about this episode, I pulled the trigger on another autograph of his for
Nice.
$7.
That's
It looks so sick.
See, and that's the thing. Think about what you're talking about. You said $7. First of all, you know you're getting a good deal because it's an autograph card, and the card looks amazing. You are not going to look at that card in a binder and go, "Man, what did I spend on this?" You're not. Or
in a month, I won't even remember. That's one of those. So
Yeah.
to the point of keeping really detailed spreadsheets, this is the bucket where I don't really write these down. This
Right.
is for fun. I don't want to think about what I spent. I don't want to associate it with money at all. This is I'm going to have this card that's coming in the mail, $7 in a month. I won't remember I spent $7. I'll just look at it and go, sick.
Exactly. And that's, I think, again, it's not that we're saying, oh, we can't collect A-Rod anymore. We can't collect, Ichiro anymore. It's like, those are going to have to be few and far between purchases because there is a little bit of a risk involved with them. They're not, obviously didn't used to be, but now there is. But Juuse Saros, Darcy Kemper, or goalies now for me, because I really, as much as I love collecting Darcy, he's not going to be a lot of stuff. So it's going to be fun to, like, if I'm just saying goalies in general, dude, I'm able to dive way in to like cards that I know are really rare and that I've told you about that a lot of people don't even like. Can't wait to tell you about the one that I found of Shesterkin today. Like, this card has 5 copies and I got it for like $10 American. Like, this is crazy. Like, if this was Sidney Crosby, it's like a $200 card. It was like finding a cool Joey Cora. It's like, dude, that was a $15 Joey Cora, but if that was Griffey, that card's like $300.
Right.
Same kind of thing. I do want to start off with a card that I know you have now, and I almost forgot that I owned it, but I remember what I paid for it. It was like $30, and I don't even care what it's worth now. It's the doubloons of Carey Price.
Yes, dude.
I
almost pulled that one out, but I had showed it so recently I didn't pull it out again.
Dude, so sick. But like, I'm just gonna run through a few examples here. I don't know if you've seen these from Flair Ultra, but like the photo vault, it's like what, $2 or $3 sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Like the clear acetate in the middle, and it's got a different photo on it. Like, come on now. Like, there's crazy fun cards that you can find out there for cheap. I'm going to show your boy Saros here. This is one of the few ones I didn't sell to or give to you, excuse me, is the gold Soul of the Game.
Which I already have. That's why you didn't give it to me.
Numbered to 99 color match. It was like $5.
$5. Yeah, I think I spent the same $5 on that card.
And I love what Jackson said here. I think this is exactly what we're talking about. Finding good value. That can be relative to whoever, but for us, these cards we're talking about, these are good value cards, and that's how it should be. Another card that's overlooked are jersey numbered parallels from SP Game Use, because the true base are jersey numbered. Here's a Vasilevsky. I think this is like $11. It's on rainbow foil, numbered to his jersey number, and these are case hits. You only get one of these per case. Come on now. This stuff's out there. It's everywhere. And for goalies, because as my boss Grant would say, goalies aren't they don't sell for much. Well, that depends on who the goalie is, right? But I think it all just depends. You're gonna like this one. This is a red label of Martin Biron. Imagine if that was Bond.
Dude. It's a red label. Like what number is that? Which tier is that? Is that
it's out of 25. It's
25. So it's the tier 3 or the class 3.
Come on.
Jeez, dude.
That's what I'm saying, man. Like, I think goalies are going to be so fun for me because there's going to be a lot of, I have to show another Saros just because you're here. I know these are super cheap, but do people know how tough the pink dazzlers are? They used to be case hits. Now the blacks are case hits, but like there's endless. And so for Saros or for you, for like, any of the other baseball players. There's a lot of cool Ichiros out there even that aren't.
Oh yeah. So I was going to say,
Yeah,
in spite of showing off that, and we're talking about maybe not our main PC players, you still can find that hidden value. So actually, sort of to what Jackson was saying, like you kind of zag when the market is zigging one way. Like if you do your research and find cards, like why isn't this a $100 insert? You know, I got this for $3. It's got the same as the acetate see-through. You can't really tell that it's see-through in the middle that well here, but like killer insert, killer design. We all know it's an iconic design. Why not have it in this for a couple of dollars and get the same sort of satisfaction of how cool it looks, and not even think about how much you spent. And then another one, unlicensed stuff. I showed this one off before. This is added 2. It's my favorite 2 guys on one card with patches, numbered to 2. It's unlicensed, fine, but they're game used patches. Like Bonds and Ichiro on the same card. $17. I'll never think about it. It's probably the only card that'll ever be made because that was the only year they led anything together in 2004. So probably the only card that'll ever be made that has both of them on it.
That's wild, dude. I think there's a lot of hidden value with your main PC guys too, but you have to have the card knowledge and know. Yeah, especially with the 90s stuff, you got to know how rare they're. I don't have my A-Rod binder here, but I have a couple. Like this card was less than $10. This is a rookie RPA. Like, look at that. It's crazy, man. Like there's plenty of cards that I've found in here that, like the purple Allure go like diamond out of 10. I think that was like $20. And even then, if it was listed on auction, it probably would have been less. This is a gold rookie, retail only gold, by the way. So just think about that. It's retail, it's gold, it's out of 10. This is like $15. It's a rookie card. Like there's the blank back. That was, I think, $18. And I'm, again, there's not a lot of copies of those. Yeah. People know that. There's a lot of hidden value in here for me. And I think it's, this was another one. This was like $3. Okay. This is a like 400 or 500 card set, and you get one black of any player. One black border
case.
Think about that real quick.
Right, yeah. So do the numbers in your head and think about the print run.
Like crazy, man. So again, there's a lot of fun hidden value out there, and I'm really looking forward to focusing on goalies because I'm just fascinated by the position. I'm learning how to play it more and more each day, and there's a lot of really fascinating, talented goalies out there that are going to have cards that end up being really cheap. And so I'm really excited to, continue down kind of the path that I was going on when I first got back into hockey, because I was finding Jocelyn Thibault cards, 90s Donruss Elite Gold die cut out of 100 for like $15. I'm like, what is going on? This A-Rod's like $150 to $200 card. Like, it's the same card, just different player. And so not worrying about the investment side of things, but more just making sure that it's fun. And that's the priority that I want to focus on as way more than, okay, what's this card going to be worth in 10 years? I have a couple cards that I will keep for a long time that I know are going to grow substantially in value, just like you do. Yep. But I want to make sure that I'm collecting with as little stress as possible. That's my goal. And so this is the avenue I'm going to go for the most part.
Yeah. And really at the end of the day, the idea of bringing up the 3 buckets is like an exercise, and it could be visualized as a pie chart as well, as just figuring out like what balance you need to have to make sure you're still enjoying yourself in the hobby. And for some people, it's going to be 80% on that first bucket, which is like the investment bucket. Like you really like running the numbers and knowing what you're putting your money towards. And like you've understood the price charts and history of a certain card that you are very well versed in. Like that could be fun for you. It's just finding whatever balance works for you as a collector, right? And maybe it's a blend of each. I'm somewhere in the middle of kind of a blend of each, but I like to have access to each of those so I don't have any version of them stressing me out, right? I like to be able to go and pick up a $5 Saros card and go, yes, I'm going to love this card anytime I pull it out and not worry.
Right.
It's just a fun exercise and a way to think about how you're collecting given the market now, right?
Yeah.
Almost like our beginning of the year when we made our goals would have been completely different if we knew the market was going to do this now, but you never know.
Yeah, it is really, really fascinating to see how it's probably, and again, we don't focus much on the negativity because that's just not what we do here. But honestly, a lot of collectors are probably doing what we're doing right now, because you can't just go out and buy a box of cards. Like, that's a significant investment. And
Yeah.
you're automatically hoping like, oh, am I going to pay for the box of this? Obviously you kind of did that in the 90s, but not nearly as much, man. You got to really be careful. And so I'm really excited to collect this way. Obviously my own stuff is going to start coming out later this year. And I'm going to have the chance to get some of those. And I was just telling Alyssa this too, like how cool when my first goalie set comes out in Team Canada from Upper Deck, I'm going to have a binder full of the set, because like that's my first goalie set in my own product. It's just blowing my mind. But that's going to be cheap. By the time it hits EPAC, I can go get all those things for 30 cents each probably. And that'll be great. So like, I think just keeping the hobby fun in terms of it not being stressful because of where the market's at now. There'll be a couple flurries that come out, or maybe a couple like rare Darcy Kemper cards from my own sets. Maybe I'll fork up a little bit of money for those, but then it's like, okay, do I have something that I can trade for that, or I can sell for that? So, you know, I'm not looking to go crazy on anything anymore. And that's good, because other than that card that just ended, I pretty much got everything I could ever want as a collector. I really do, man. Like everything's just gravy at this point. I know for you, other than one card, you're pretty much there too. And
I'm pretty close, where everything I had is just a really fun moment, and I'm not going to stress myself over anything I'm going to try to add.
For sure. And I hope that most people in the chat, I know we haven't gotten much comments here lately, but like, honestly, I hope for everyone in the chat, I think Ben and I would agree on this, that the goal of this podcast is to make sure that wherever the market is, wherever, you know, the prices of boxes are, that the joy is the focus of what you're doing, whether it's with your family, on your own, investing, you know, grading, whatever you're doing, but to make sure that there's joy in what you're doing. And when you start spending that kind of money on cards, no matter who you are, it does take a little bit of the joy out of it. And so I think it's really good that we're doing this for me and for you, but also hopefully for everybody else out there. Like, step back and think like, okay, is what I'm doing fun? Am I in that fun bucket most of the time? And if you are, you're probably enjoying collecting a lot. Matt spoke to it earlier about like, I sold all this because it wasn't fun. Now I'm doing this and I'm loving it. So that's my big takeaway from this. So any closing thoughts on your end, Ben, before we say goodbye to our wonderful audience?
Yeah, this was a really good thought exercise, and it's, I guess, allowed me to kind of step back and flip through some of the stuff I've collected recently and in the past. And I think, you know, where should these live? And it allows me to make sure I'm focusing on having fun in the future. And then the last thing that caught my eye is we have to give away that ultra set that Luke has.
Yeah, we do. We got a fun. I think I want to do another one of those.
You want to know what's stressing me out? We need to give that away.
Yeah. I really think the next time we do one of those $50 exercises where we have $50 and we buy cards from certain sets, we can do the giveaway at the end of that episode. So perfect. You know, maybe we'll get another person involved in that. If not, it'll just be you and me. And then Luke has been gracious enough to want to give that set away to somebody, which honestly, with the market is at, that is
Luke,
huge.
Actually, that's a pretty big giveaway now.
Maybe whoever wins it can kick Luke some fun money so he can go out and buy something nice for his family. But anyways, we'll definitely have to do that. We'll talk about that. Hopefully we can do that in the next couple months on an episode. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
My closing thoughts is that, hey, you know, when I was collecting goalies for a bit there, and I did buy a couple flurries here and there, it was all fun cards. Like one thing I would love to do is to put the whole Young Guns goalie set together again, because outside of Fleury, which I have, and Vasilevsky, they're all very affordable. Every single one of them. Some of them are very hard to find, but like the Chase will be fun because I'll be getting a $2 Young Gun goalie that doesn't show up for months, and that will be fun. And so I really want to make sure that I'm staying in the hobby and it's always being fun, because I want to celebrate the cards with my friends, my significant other, and not be like, oh, I got this really cool, you know, goalie card, but it was $100. It's like, oh, it was $5 and I've been looking for this for weeks and it fits in a set, or this looks great in a binder. Like that is really going to be the primary focus. And because I always want to make sure that collecting is not stressful. So I'm glad we had these discussions, that we had the one on Thursday and then here as well. So I do want to say this to everybody. Yes. Happy opening day week for everyone.
Yes.
Everybody's going to win a World Series right now, right? Nobody's got any losses. Everybody's doesn't have, you know, has the same odds, kind of.
Same record.
Yeah, exactly. Go everybody but the Astros and the Dodgers, which is great. No offense, Matt. And then this is going to be fun to see. Matt's going to be showing his number 4 Bagwell. That's big time, buddy. That's huge.
Huge.
That's huge. So, well, thanks again, everyone. We had a
thank you
wonderful audience here. A big number of people. I know I had somebody special in here for a bit. They're not here anymore, but they gave us some props, and they don't even really collect. So that's pretty cool to hear. Ben, we'll see everyone in a couple weeks, right? Same time, yep. same channel and all that good stuff. So,
yep.
All right. Thanks, Ben, for being here. It was great chatting with you. Thanks, everyone.
Hope you everyone in the comments.
Yeah, awesome to have you all here, and look forward to chatting with you.